Hey boys and girls, it's raining outside, so I've moved inside for day three's lesson. Today we're going to compare and contrast the plot of stories. To study this skill, we're going to be using the books Amazing Grace by Mary Hoffman and Apples to Oregon by Deborah Hopkinson and Mary Carpenter. Please make sure you listen to both stories before you begin to study the skill. And each day I want you to listen to the stories again to think about that specific skill. It's going to be really important that you do this. All right, let's begin. The plot of a story is the path a character takes to solve the problem in a story. So go ahead and take a moment and grab this sheet from your packet if you have it, or you could just look here on the screen. So every story, the plot unfolds like a mountain. Often we call it a story mountain. In the beginning of the story, there's the background where we find the setting, the characters, and the problem in the story. Once the problem's uncovered, the character begins to climb the mountain to solve the problem. And we call that the rising action. Each little step the character takes that gets him closer to solving the problem is each little bump in that mountain. And then until finally we get to the climax. This is where the character has the aha moment. They recognize what the problem is and how to solve it. And then finally we get to the resolution in the story. And that's where the problem is solved. And here we often see the character change a little bit. In the beginning of the story, they had a character trait that kind of caused some problems for them. Maybe they were shy, maybe they were insecure, maybe they didn't know something. But now at the end of the chapter, or the end of the book, the character has learned something about themselves that helped them overcome that problem. And you can also look down below. We can also plan out a story in this kind of path. There's a somebody wanted, but so then. The somebody is the main character, including their traits that help them solve the problem, and the traits that kind of cause the problem. There's the wanted. What is the thing that the character wants? And the but is the problem that's stopping this character from getting the thing they want. The so is the rising action. It's the steps the character takes to solve the problem, ending with the climax. And then the then is the resolution, where the character actually solves the problem. So now I want you to take out this sheet or go to the online version of it, and you're going to fill it out. Today, you're going to circle the plot portion of the worksheet. And then you're going to fill it out. You're going to look at the plots between Amazing Grace and Apples to Oregon. Look at the beginning of the story, the rising action, the climax, and the resolution. And you're going to see what's the same about both of those. They're going to go in this middle column. And what's part of the plot is only found in Amazing Grace will go in the Amazing Grace column. And what part of the plot is only in Apples to Oregon will go in the Apples to Oregon column. And you'll fill it out like this. Amazing Grace and Apples to Oregon have similar plots because they both, and tell me what's the same about both of these plots. And then finally you'll say Amazing Grace and Apples to Oregon have different plots because Grace has, you can tell me what's special about Grace's plot, but Apples has, and what's special about Apples' plot. Good luck. Okay, boys and girls. All right, I'm in my office now, so setting looks a little bit different. But what you're going to do is I want you to start reading your chapter book after this lesson and think about the plot. Think about the beginning of your story where your character is learning something about themselves and you're learning some character traits about that character. And then finally, the rising action to the climax and the resolution. All right, go find a good place to read, grab your good book, and think about the plots as you read.